All right, we're Fred Dursting it right now. What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 0 of Pitch Shift, the podcast where we pitch the worst possible movie ideas imaginable into the absolute void and a disembodied audience. I am Steve Garcia, apparently, according to 69 News, here with my co-host and co-founder, Andy.
I am Andy Garcia.
Yeah, we're the Brothers Garcia. We're rebranding our podcast in the very first episode after this. So stay tuned for some exciting stuff.
But this is a podcast we've been wanting to do for a while. Alternatively, you could probably just call this Steve and Andy's Nonsense Hour, because that's what it's going to be. And would you like to introduce the topic that we have chosen to just unleash upon the world?
Oh, I would love to, man. Thank you for the privilege. Today we're talking about Train Simulator 2016 because we're going totally off the rails. Today we're talking about Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the alligator version.
Yes, Rise of the Dawn of the War of the Planet of the Gators.
Yeah, this was a completely spontaneous thing in our group chat, and Andy just said something about Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but with alligators. This is kind of just what we do. I remember one time years ago, you said something like, "Hey, hear me out, Steve." I'm like, "Okay, CGI grapes. Yeah, hear me out." No.
I think one of our finest exchanges is still always going to be when I'm just stoned out of my mind and in the middle of trying to remember a sentence, and I'm just like, hey Steve, you ever think?
No.
We have fun here.
Yeah, we have fun here. Oh, you guys are so quiet. Anyway, as I was saying, Rise of the Planet of the Alligators. So this is kind of tangentially related.
Wait,
so
I'm just going to make sure I'm going to set a timer for an hour, and we're going to go that long, and we're going to get to the end, and we're going to see if we are still on topic, if we're anywhere near the topic.
Yeah, we're actually changing our name to Non Sequitur, the podcast. This is tangentially related, but remember that fucking Super Gator movie? It's an alligator in Africa that just ate nothing but corpses from famine or war, and then it's it made a whole it was District 9-esque movie before District 9 was even a thing, really pioneering the genre.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's one of those dumb bullshit movies I'd see whenever I go to my grandparents' house, because my grandparents like to think that they're have refined taste, but then they'll watch dumb shit on sci-fi all the time. And then one of those movies was on. It was taken seriously, and I was just this is the goofiest shit I've ever seen. I don't remember what the fuck it was called, but it was Super Gator. That kind of reminds me of that Super Hog or some shit. Remember that shit, dude? There's a Super Hog. It was they called it Notorious P.I.G. Someone was waiting its whole fucking life to caption that shit on the ticker tape of the news.
I was there's that one, I think the guy's name is Jim Wynorski.
Mm-hmm.
They've talked about him on Red Letter Media. He's a guy who made serious movie. I think he made Return of Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
And then he's also made just a shitload of porn.
Yeah.
Including Witch's Breastwick.
Yeah.
And the Bear Wench Project.
Yeah, shit you see on Skinemax.
We don't have that anymore. Now we have, it's This Ain't Avengers. XXX.
Yeah.
Nobody puts any effort into titles.
That was half the fun when I was working at the Dick's store up in fucking Bartonsville. I'm just gonna dox myself right now. I'd be working at the Dick's store, and getting in the fucking movies on inventory day was a fucking treat. I just got to laugh at all the different fucking movie titles and shit.
We should clarify that when he says Dick's store, he doesn't mean Dick's Sporting Goods. He means there are 2 porn shops in our hometown that are a stone's throw from each other. I hope that the reason they're set up like that, because they used to be even closer.
Yeah.
I hope that they're set up like that so that somebody could walk out of the one, do their walkish out of the other one, and they just have this weird transcendental moment where they're just locked in eye contact with each other. It's holding copies of the Cosby Show porn parody that is real. That's a thing.
Yeah, the one guy orders the Mork and Mindy porn parody from the one shop, and the other guy gets the only other copy in existence, and then they go to across the street, and they both visit each other's shops, and then they both trade it in for store credit. I was talking with that at the lady at CVS the other day. I walk in, and her computer was freezing. I tried putting my fucking chip in, and I hate the fucking chip. I sound like a goddamn boomer. I don't even care. I was I wasn't the only one in the store, and there's no behind me, because when you make a joke about to kind of alleviate the tension of something fucking up, or you not having enough change and shit, and people just get more pissed off at you, and then they start beating the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. And in CVS, as you do.
I guess it must be free, and then you just...
Yeah, Yeah.
And I don't know why I turned into this squeaky voice teenager from The Simpsons. Mr. Maruka, help!
But I was at CVS and fucking like the shit was all locking up, and she's like, "Oh, my screen froze. Hey, you want to make a donation to like ASPCA?" And I'm like, "Not necessarily, because you guys are just like using it as a corporate like tax write-off. But whatever. I'm feeling generous today. You're welcome. You fucking piece of shit. Fuck you, making $10 an hour. You don't ever talk to me again, you subhuman wage slave." But then, and then she's like, "Oh, okay. So I made the donation and shit, and then I was like, yeah, I don't think we really need to worry about like Skynet taking over. Like everyone's all this talk about like, you know, deep fakes and fucking stealing your voices and shit, but you know, I can't even fucking get a goddamn cash machine to work right, you know?"
Well, there's somebody that I have observed in certain situations who was just like horrified about deep fakes, and like just anytime I see this person, they're just talking about like, oh, like we gotta get rid of deep fakes, we gotta make deep fakes illegal, deep fakes, we gotta like totally change the future, and we gotta like get in front of them, and just it's always the people who aren't interesting enough for anybody else to ever try and like impersonate them. It's just always like just this person who is from your hometown and has not left and probably never will, who is just always like, the government's like trying to get all our information, and they're trying to like take our faces and commit atrocities. It's like, I feel like you are very low down on their list of people that they're gonna deep fake, like saying, oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's like those fucking guys that was like, "Oh, I don't want gays to marry or anything like that because they might want to try and have sex with me."
Yeah, just always the person who I don't like. That should be the lowest rung on your ladder of concerns.
Yeah, like you can't even get chicks to fuck you, you fucking incel. Like, kind of out of here. But yeah, man, it's like that same thing. Like the worst that's gonna happen, like still, is that it's gonna be used for porn. It's always for porn. Like someone like putting their fucking selfie on like Facebook, and then some like Indian guy like whose profile got hacked by some other Indian guy. Just
sorry, that was my friend. I'm at a party.
He was just doing it despite the other Indian guy, because they're like their caste is, they're like one guy's like higher on the caste rung, and then they just been because one guy stole a cow from the other guy like 500 years ago, and they're just like fucking with this other guy and stealing his info and putting it on like a Pornhub ad or something, just to and the other guy's like, I'm not even pissed.
Friendship ended with a mere porn is my best friend now. Well, that's the fucking
the 45-year-old Coomer.
There's this one. I think it's an episode of To Catch a Predator, which I haven't seen, but I've seen, like, I watched the Mr. Gigi videos where he would go through them. And there was one where it must have been this, because I'm drawing a blank on what else it could have been, but I'm pretty sure the guy, like, when pressed, like, why'd you do this? I think when he, like, was trying to explain himself, he was like, oh, I was at a party, and my friend, like, he walked over, and he, like, started, like, talking in the chat on the party, and I was just like, I don't know. Let's just examine this situation for a minute. You're at a party, you're just logged in to your computer at a party, and somebody else just like, oh, let me just, like, come up and start typing to this, and on top of that, it's still, he's at the house. Like, what? Oh yeah, sorry, my friend typed all that stuff. You're still here.
Yeah, dude, you can use my fucking AOL AIM chat room to go fucking hit up my 13-year-old cousin. No problem, bro.
To Catch a Predator is one of those things that, like, I prefer to watch, like, other people, like, talking about it and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you see one, you see them all.
Well, it's that, and it's also just, like, there's, like, it's just, like, you watch that, and it's disturbing to see, like, just such a human reaction from these people. It's like when they have that moment of like, oh no, like I clearly just ruined my life. It's cathartic to see that, because like, fuck them. Yeah. But it's also just like to hear that human like regret. It's like there's something like it sort of breaks down that barrier. Yeah. You're like, oh, these are people.
Oddly humanizing, and like it's on one hand, it's like they're only really pissed that they got caught, and like they were maybe like something like that. But on the other hand, it's like maybe these people like legitimate, like there's some merit to like legitimately needing help when you have like feelings like that. I think, I don't know. I'm not a pedophile.
I do think there is a conversation to be had there, and that these people are sick. Yeah. But it's that type of thing where it's like the people who are always like, sorry, I'm being mean to you. I have this or this, and it's that type of thing where it's like, okay, you say that like once or twice. It's like, okay, but then you just keep doing it. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, you only get so so much of an excuse for that, and it's that type of thing where it's like,
whoops, didn't mean to fuck that kid.
well, there's that fucking Lars von Trier movie, Nymphomaniac, where he just like uses it as an excuse to just like, clearly the characters are just saying things, and you're like, okay, I guess this is just what Lars von Trier believes. It's never that like illusion that, oh, a character is saying this.
Yeah, and like he's like projecting way too hard.
And fucking Stellan Skarsgård is like, or no, I think it's Charlotte Gainsborough. Charlotte Gainsborough actually says this, who is like, oh, the pedophile who has those thoughts and has those feelings, but doesn't actually go after kids and stuff like that. They deserve a medal for that.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? The guy's a self-proclaimed Nazi.
Yes.
He's not. I mean, like, he's not. He's just I think that's his weird German sense of humor. I mean, like, but that's kind of an oxymoron. But I think that's like his weird sense of humor because he's like from Germany and shit. He's like trying to alleviate tension because he's awkward and like a fucking weirdo introvert. And then like,
why can't he be like Werner Herzog, who's just like, I do not care if you're uncomfortable. I am going to talk about the nature of God and how I saved Joaquin Phoenix from dying in a fire. I am French now. It wasn't exactly German to start out with, and then he just became French.
Yeah, he was he's going through his surgery from becoming German to French. This was somewhat successful. Why isn't he more like Uwe Boll, where he just like
he just wants to beat the shit out of people?
And then he's like, I'm bored. I'm tired of exploiting tax loopholes. I'm just gonna start a restaurant. That's my real passion anyway.
There's that video of him where he's just like, everyone who works in the movie industry is stupid, and I am the only genius, and it's all bullshit. Everybody wants to go out and see a Spider-Man. It's just all bullshit.
It's bullshit. I did not make it. I did not.
Well, the best part about that is fucking in that video, he's just talking about how he's the only genius in the industry and stuff. It's like, I feel like even he's admitted to just as much as like, yeah, my movies were just made because of some weird German like tax law. And as soon as they changed that law, I coincidentally stopped making movies.
Chin scratch.
It's like, I'm the only genius in the whole industry. And in a way, I shouldn't say he's the only genius, but I think he's like...
No, he's the only genius.
Well, the thing is like...
He is the most genius.
It's not like when... it's not like when Neil Breen says something and you're like, is this guy a human being with like desires of his own?
He's a human brain.
I think Uwe Boll is the shittier Jason Blum. Because the way Jason Blum has made his money is always just be like, we'll give you a little bit of money, but we'll give it to these things that are going to just bring back so much more money that like the profit margin is just going to be off the charts. And like
it'll be totally off the rails.
Train Simulator 2019. Time to go to our mid-roll now for Train Simulator 2019. Get wrecked. Back to the show.
Very well said.
Because like Jason Blum's whole thing is like, oh, you know, like in a way, like Blumhouse has made a lot of fucking shit movies. But they've made some good shit. Like he produced Whiplash. Yeah. And like it's that type of thing where it's like, I'll put a lot of shit out there, but those few things that like you'll be really happy I gave like the person to make them the money to make that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Adam Sandler in a way.
In a way.
Oddly enough, it's kind of like Josh Brolin. We were talking about like Sin City 2 Electric Boogaloo earlier and how like he's supposed to be Clive Owen and then he's just like Josh Brolin with an ass chin and then like...
It just gets off of... I need to rewatch the movie because I don't know what... But I swear to God, in my memory, and granted, my memories of this night of seeing this movie include me, James, and Bruno, and I think we were the only 3 people in the theater. And it was in that like XD theater at the mall, so we're the only people in this huge ass theater. Yeah, and I'm eating meatballs that I took from work because the sample lady was giving out meatballs, and then at the end of the day, she's like, I just wrapped up this tray of meat cut up into squares. Do you want it? And I said, hell yes. Yeah, and I snuck it into the fucking movie theater under my coat, and then just ate meatballs.
Hell yeah, the theater had a very lenient spaghetti policy.
This was years before that too. I basically I'm fucking suing. It's Always Sunny took my joke that I just actually did. But in my memories of that movie, he steps off a bus. Having previously been in the hospital and having bandages all over his face, he just steps off a bus bus.
Yeah.
And it's just like the most anticlimactic shit. Just like comes off a bus with just this terrible wig and this butt chin and this fake nose, and he just looks nothing like Clive Owen. It's just like they could have just at least made him like, it's like, okay, you couldn't get Clive Owen back, whatever. Just at least make him look like a human being and not like fucking, I don't know, like Robbie Rotten.
Creamy.
You know what he looks like? He looks like... Have you seen the music video for Wyona's Big Brown Beaver by Primus, where they're in like the cowboy outfits and they're like plastic and shit? He looks like one of those.
He looks like straight out of a fucking Primus. Oh no, he looks like the claymation from Tool videos.
Honestly, the thing he reminds me of the most is the music video for Land of Confusion by Genesis, where they have the puppet that is probably a more accurate representation of what Phil Collins looks like than a picture of Phil Collins.
No, dude, Phil Collins and like, what's the other guy's name from Genesis? Fucking, don't tell me. Peter
Man.
Gabriel, yeah, like they're both just like the inverse. Like one's the guy's the good twin, the one's the evil twin. They're like they literally have like the same build and fucking like doughy, soft, shitty body, and like one guy just wears black and the other one wears white, and the one has a goatee.
The one you can find their shit on Spotify, and the other you fucking can't.
Yeah.
So many times I want to listen to Peter Gabriel. I'm like, play Sledgehammer. It's like playing Sledgehammer live, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, man.
It's like only a bunch of live recordings and shit.
Yeah, man. Like I heard some song, like some like kind of, I don't know if it was a deep cut or whatever. I heard some song by like Peter Gabriel on the radio, and apparently it was like voted one of the most like depressing songs of all time. And I'm like, is that like out of 100? And out of that 100 is like 101. And I'm not talking about Dalmatians. It was like pretty upbeat for it makes like, it sounded a lot like fucking In Your Eyes almost. Like it had like the same motif.
Oh God. I remember there was a class, and this is the only reason that I shouldn't say the only reason, but this is the main reason I think the Mandela effect, if not just total bullshit, should at least be renamed.
Yeah.
Because Peter Gabriel made a song called Biko about Stephen Biko, who was a guy during apartheid who was in prison and was like, he died in prison. And then they were like, I think they were having like a closed casket funeral. Do not like quote me on any of this because this is like years, like freshman year of high school I'm trying to recall here. And from a teacher that over the years I have realized it just said things that weren't true. Like I remember once she's like, atheist just means you don't believe in the Christian God. Like you could be Jewish, you could be Buddhist, you could be like just labeling all these things. And then I said that to somebody like outside of that class where I'm like, oh, an adult told me this is really right. And they just looked at me like I was a fucking idiot. And that was the first time I ever realized that like there's a lot of great, I don't want to talk bad on teachers because there's a lot of great teachers who like,
fuck the system.
There's a lot of great teachers who like really inspired me to be people. But like I think that was the first time I ever realized like, oh, adults are just people that got older. Yeah. Like no, there's like, think of the stupidest person you know. They're going to get older one day or they're going to get hit by a train. Yeah. Both are equally likely. But think about what happens if they live. They sometimes go on to teach world cultures, as I believe the class was called, and make lyric videos set to Green Day songs like 21 Guns. I don't fucking know. Like,
oh yes, the classic 21 Pilots.
Over here, make butt rock.
I walk to Burger King, then I walk back home from Burger King. That's the same song, right?
Yeah, probably. But all late stage Green Day is the same.
Yeah, but, shit. It's odd, kind of the comparisons that he has with the fucking Jack White. Like I like his voice, but I can see how it's like grating to people. But, you know, he really went and put himself out there, and he's like a self-made success story with his wife / sister / whatever.
That's the weirdest evolution of, like, just denying your relation to somebody. It's like, oh, this is my sister. Really? Because we have, like, short-term memory, and we can remember, like, a few years ago when you're like, this is my wife. And it's like, yeah, but shut up, though.
Yeah, Jack White, noted gaslighter. Why is he trying to pull a fast one on us, man? Like, we don't know. Like, as you said, we have short-term fucking memory. And not only that, but why would would you make that lie up when you're a public fucking figure? You could say that to like your friends or something. How like, oh yeah, I saw a girl and you were there with this girl in the diner. She's your wife, right? No, she's my sister. It's like, oh, your wife kind of looks like your sister. It's like, yeah, same person.
The longer time has gone on, maybe Jack White's just real fucking weird. Did you hear about how he was, again, don't look this up on your own time because we're staring at a laptop. I could easily look this up. But,
yeah, we're going to start furiously typing away, looking up the validity behind this Jack White story as soon as we get back to you guys.
As soon as we actually get on the topic we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah, Josh Brolin being box office poison.
Yeah, that's what this is. But it's that thing. I think he like tried to sue or threatened to sue or just something. In overall, there is bad blood between him and like Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys.
Yeah,
because he like one of their kids, either Auerbach or the other guy, the guy who made the BoJack Horseman theme. His kid and Jack White's kid went to the same school, and Jack White got angry. It's like, I'm gonna bring legal action to you, or I'm remembering this incorrectly, and he just said, I'm gonna be a dick.
Yeah,
but either way, he like accused them of copying him to the extent. It's like, it's one thing, it's like, oh, the Black Keys copied the White Stripes. I'm like, I don't think that's a controversial take. Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily true.
They were kind of like writing their own coda at the end. You can like see that in the lyrics. Like, oh, yeah. Jack White like specifically saying shit like, oh, I'm kind of anxious. It's like having too much creativity and like having too much freedom.
Well, you could tell like towards the end there, like, I don't think it was their last, but I think Icky Thump was one of their last few albums.
Yeah.
And like some of the songs on that, I'm like, this is as weird as you can, like, as you're allowed to get in this medium at this time, probably. Yeah. Like Conquest is just like it's a song thinking about, it sounds like you're at a fucking, what's the thing with the Matador where they like charge at the, whatever that's called. Whatever the name
of it. The rodeo?
Yeah, whatever it's called.
It's a fucking rodeo.
The movie The Matador, starring Pierce Brosnan, that I have never seen all of, but my brother had a poster of, and I have seen exactly one scene from. It's a scene where a dog is running from room to room, and it keeps going into like Pierce Brosnan's character, bare-ass naked, just having sex with different women.
The way you're describing it makes it seem like it's like a Scooby-Doo-esque chase scene, where like the dog is chasing Pierce Brosnan, chasing the chick, chasing Pierce Brosnan.
It's not live action in like the same 2 frames a second those old Hanna-Barbera cartoons are in.
There's one guy just sitting in his room, like making it by himself sometimes, like Ali Antos videos, like the King of the Hill edits, where it's like all macabre and disturbing. Like they have like better fucking production value than like the actual show itself.
Well, it's like the Skooks videos.
Yeah.
Are edited so much better than the actual episode of Scooby-Doo.
It's like that running joke. Like even fucking Fairly Odd Parents of all things like parodied it. I don't know, that was before Butch Hartman became a crazy fucking person.
Butch Hartman making fun of anybody else's like animation style feels like him being a hypocrite, doesn't it? Because
little.
Well, no, I guess it's not really him being a hypocrite. It's probably him saying, "I'm so much better than look at these." Yeah. Because that's. Have you ever seen that video of him? It's like he's playing like some like Nicktoons game.
Yeah, I made your childhood. Fuck you.
But it's just like, oh, when people try to like criticize, like they can't do like anything themselves.
Yeah.
He's basically just saying like no one should be allowed to criticize me because they don't draw.
Yeah. Well, if anything, I think you have a merit to that, Andy. He is a fucking hypocrite because his art style, like back in the day, was kind of weird when it was like, oh yeah, cartoons, it's a pilot, and then like he kind of sharpened it up. His art style is pretty consistent. He's like the same art style in every show, pretty much. He's like, oh, these guys don't have any range. It's like, dude, you have the same art style every show. And now like he draws like on his weird YouTube channel where like he preaches Christian fundamentalism, and he's trying to get everyone to like crowdfund his weird like Christian streaming service. Also, when he does like his weird drawing videos, it looks like he fucking read a book like by like those how to draw manga artists. And like he's like, that's where it's at. I gotta go to the manga style.
It's like that I think it's like behind the scenes for like Phantom Menace or something like that. But it's just George Lucas talking about how he writes a story, and it's literally just him like sitting at a desk, clearly staged, just writing something. But he has like these books, like not a bookcase, just a selection of books that are by his desk at all times.
Yeah.
And it's like the hero's journey and like just the very clear like, oh, he literally literally just read these books. It was like, I'm gonna make a movie about this guy. He's gonna be named Luke Starkiller. Maybe in time, somebody will like slap me in the head, and I'll come up with an idea that's less dumb.
Yeah, fucking Dummy's Guide to Writing Sci-Fi.
I saw a thing recently that was like George Lucas is considering a return to Star Wars if he had full creative control. I don't know how fandom works.
Yeah.
Like, I used to think I had some kind of idea, but now I think it's basically just like the tenets of fandom. It's just like, is the thing you like currently being made in some iteration? Hate that.
Yeah.
And just keep like nostalgia goggling whatever came before it. Because like we were there, like when like growing up, it's like when the prequels were our Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, I hate this. Like George Lucas. And to be clear, that was also overblown.
Yeah.
Like there's that video of those guys on the street just like with guitars singing a song, and I think it's best was best summed up by Mr. Sunday Movies, where he was talking about
friend of the show, Mr. Sunday Movies.
Yes, a friend of the show. We've been to Australia, we know him. But he was talking about, he was showing a clip of those guys, and it just like let the clip play out for a little bit, and eventually it just said at the bottom, pictured babies. And I'm just like, yeah, when you like they like ruined Jake Lloyd's life.
Yeah.
Like you see any interviews with him and they're rare, which is a rarity for anybody who was in like a major thing like that.
When it comes out of his crypt.
Yeah, well, it's like when he comes out from doing drag races and punching people or shit, whatever he does. But
fuck yeah. I'd rather do that shit than make fucking shitty Star Wars movies. Hell yeah.
Well, it's just that whole thing is just like, if I were him, I'd just be like, because like you see him in these interviews, he's clearly like, I don't really like cameras, I don't really like Star Wars, I don't really like fun, I don't really like things, I don't really like people. But like if that were me, if I were in that situation, I'm like, yeah, I was a kid. There was an adult who should have been telling me what to do. Why aren't you yelling at him?
Yeah, for real.
It's like, oh, but he made these great movies years ago. It's like, by accident.
Yeah, it was a lot of that has like chalked up to like studio. That's one of the things where like studio interference actually kind of worked out for the better.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you need to be like kind of rung in so that your stupid fucking ideas just can't go wild. And then like the newer ones, like I know you like, you know, Last Jedi and shit, and like The Force Awakens and whatever. Everyone's like fucking shits on Rise of Skywalker, and rightfully so. That's the only one I've seen, and I really didn't care to watch the previous two.
I think that's the movie that united a lot of people. Oh, we aim to make a movie that's not as divisive as the last Star Wars movie. So it's like we united the whole goddamn fandom.
Maybe that was their ploy the whole time, because we were just
gonna bring everybody together.
Yeah, because everyone was like, you were saying, like shitting on the fucking being huge, big, like shitty poo-poo babies, and like shitting on things and blowing it way out of proportion.
Well, the thing that bothers me about that is everyone's like, oh, Rian Johnson clearly hates Star Wars. That's why he made the movie like this. Like, you watch that movie, it's like, there is like shit referencing the prequels in there. Like, there's that one, like, there's this overhead shot of like Kylo walking in. It's a direct parallel to that shot of Anakin from like over the top. There's clearly stuff in there that makes you go, oh, this guy, like, he doesn't just like Star Wars, he likes Star Wars. He's not one of those people who's like, oh yeah, the first 3 movies and then the rest are bad. Like, he likes those. And then when you watch like the ones J.J. Abrams has done, it's very clear he's not like that.
Yeah,
he's clearly someone like, afraid of the prequels. It's like, we don't want to put anything like that in the movie. Yeah. And it's just like,
from a guy that made Star Trek movies where like it's like fan service abound, you'd think he'd want to do that.
Well, that's the thing. I think talking about it, he's been like, yeah, I was never even really that big a Star Trek fan. That's why it was weird when everyone's like, J.J. Abrams is like, and I don't think too many people say this now, but back in the day, it was like J.J. Abrams is like the geek king. Like, he's doing all this stuff. It's like,
Yeah, he's like, he's the geek king, and Zack Snyder's his fucking court jester.
There's a subset of nerds or geeks or whatever you want to call them.
They're like jock nerds.
Yeah, it's this thing where it's that whole thing with Zack Snyder where, like, I was watching an interview with him, and he was talking about, this must have been the lead up to Watchmen. He's talking about how he didn't really like comics, like he can never really get into comics, or at least the comics that people were showing him. And I think like someone showed him either Watchmen or The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah. And he's like, oh, this is it. Like, this is totally like what I'm about and stuff like that. And it's like, which just adds credence to the theory that Zack Snyder did not realize Watchmen was making fun of people like him.
Yeah, no, he's like, this is hip and with the kids. When did this come out? Like last week? He's like, from the 80s, dude.
Being an adult is realizing that Watchmen is satire and all the characters are wrong.
I used to think my life was a tragedy. I now realize it's a bug's life.
I used to think my life was a tragedy, and now I realize I'm Zack Snyder.
It's a accident.
I'm on Zack. What's the Zack Snyder version of Xanax? Zack X?
Zanzax.
That just sounds
Like an alien name.
That sounds like the villain from like Galaxy Quest. And I don't remember his actual name, so he might as well be.
Everyone thought it was a real bad idea when I wanted to get into Scientology, but thankfully my advisor Zanzax, he was really able to like ring me in and show me the light.
I've been talking to somebody recently. I was talking about how I bought Cowboy Bebop, like the entire series, and
nice.
And they're like, "Oh, isn't that like a lot to get through?" And I'm like, "It's like
it's a
20
season.
Some episodes or something."
Not
like,
even. It's like 12.
Yeah, it's like not a lot at all. And I'm like, that's the only reason I like never buy shows anymore, especially ongoing shows.
Yeah.
Like I'd say the closest I considered getting like all of Breaking Bad after that was over, but there's that type of thing where it's like that's I'm ever redoing, like, going through that again. That's a lot.
It's always on Netflix anyway. They're never going to get rid of that shit.
Mm-hmm. And it's the type of thing where, like, I think I own Cowboy Bebop. I own a special from Doctor Who, because fuck if I'm going to buy, like, entire seasons of that.
Yeah, you might as well be buying the fucking Simpsons.
Yeah, and I did used to buy The Simpsons, because that was something where I'm like, well, at least I could stop buying them when they stop being good.
Yeah, and now, like, everything's going to be all digital anyway, so it's like you have a little, like, rarity and artifact and shit. And The Simpsons always had, like, those little fan servicey kind of drawings on it. They put production value into that shit.
Oh, those DVDs are nice. Like, I'm glad I still own them, especially because I think still on Disney Plus they're, like, cropped, like, weird to cut out, like jokes in the margins. Like that one we were watching. It took a minute for me to realize the joke was like, oh, they're on like a moving belt, like a thing. And if I remember correctly watching that episode, and I think it's in those DVD sets, so I can go back and check. But if I remember correctly, you could see that they like stepped straight off the like the treadmill and onto this like moving platform and stuff like that. I'm like, you're literally cutting out the jokes.
Yeah, what was it, the Hank Scorpio one?
Yeah. I just love he just keeps coming in. It's just like army men running around. He has a flamethrower.
I don't use the word hero often, but you, sir, are a hero.
You have any sugar? Sugar? Yeah, sure. Here you go. Sorry, it's not in packets. You want any cream? Yeah.
No.
Did you see how fucking, I imagine you did that fucking Van Halen died?
Yeah, dude, the other day, my fucking brother called me. Like, I never talk to my brother because he's a fucking little cunt. But I love him anyway. But, like, you know.
For legal reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of forced to. I mean, usually when you love someone for, like, that, it's for illegal reasons. Maple, isn't that against the law? But yeah, no, like, he calls me.
Maple, isn't that against the law?
Yeah, come on, Dipper. Don't be such a prude.
We got friend of the show, Christian Shaw on it. Hey, everybody, this is Christian. This is what Christian Shaw sounds like.
Yes.
That's what a person sounds like, all right.
Yeah, this is fucking her just going, woo! She just sounds like Curly from the Three Stooges.
That would have been how much better would fucking Bill and Ted Face the Music be? She just steps out of the time travel and just,
just dresses Zoidberg, just pays her whole body red.
Yo, future dude.
They should have had like another station kind of character.
Yeah, honestly, I think they should have just got somebody who just acts a lot like George Carlin. Like, I think she should have still been in the movie.
Yeah.
And they should have just got somebody who acts exactly like George Carlin, and he has no relation to him at all. It's just a joke.
Yeah, Cheech Marin. They get Cheech Marin to act as George Carlin.
Well, it's that thing where it's like, I'm like, for years I've just been consistently burned on like things where I'm like, oh, these like two people should do this or do that. These two actors should do this or do that. Like,
yeah, they should fuck.
Yeah. Well, it's like when It Chapter 2 was coming out, and it's like, we have cast Jessica Chastain to play the older version of Bev. And it's like, you look at the person who played Bev in the first movie, and you look at Amy Adams, and it's like, that you just have the same face. And like, you look at Jessica Chastain, it's like, you have the same hair, and I guess eye color. Where it's that type of thing where it's like, she's fine in that movie. Like, it's fine as anybody is in that movie. It's a perfectly fine performance, but it's just that type of thing where the whole time I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at I'm looking at Jessica Chastain, whereas if I was looking at Amy Adams, I'd be like, oh, this is like an adult version of that character. And I guess somebody was like, oh, somebody saw it because there's that show Sharp Objects, which is like based off a book by the person who wrote Gone Girl. And they either play sisters or she plays like a younger version of her in that. I haven't watched it. People keep telling me it's really good, which for future reference, if any of our friends are watching this, if you want me to watch something, the best way to do it is either to just
quit while you're ahead.
Well, you sit me down and just show it to me, because, I mean, you showed me The Boys, and I like, when you just put it on, I'm like, oh yeah, let's watch this. Basically, just either do that, or just never bring it up. Yeah. Just like, find subtle ways to be like, maybe you'll like this show, because the second you're like, you'd really like this, I'm like, well, now there's like an expectation of me, and if I don't, this is gonna be awkward, and then it's just gonna be like somebody told me that once about Fear the Walking Dead. They're like, no, you really like that, and I'm like, I feel like I really wouldn't. And it's like fucking Barry, like in order to watch Barry, I had to find out it was like half-hour episodes, and you could binge through the whole thing in like 4 hours.
Hell yeah, we had a fucking Barry marathon.
Marathon. I remember once we were watching it, and
Barry-thon.
I like it was getting late. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go home. You're like, okay, see you later. And then you just start playing the next episode. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, at least I give you something to do tonight.
Sorry, man. It's just one of those things where like you're just fucking drained. And...
Oh no, I had already seen it, so I didn't got it. Like it was just one of those things where I'm like, oh, it's like that was actually comforting. I'm like, oh, you're enjoying the show to continue watching it while I leave.
Yeah, no, it's fucking good. Like it's fucking funny, and it has like I fucking love Bill Hader. I was at my grandparents the other day showing off my fucking new dog. His name, I thought was named Hobby, as in like Hobby, something that you do. But no, I had like adopted him from a Hispanic lady down the street who had to like give him up for personal reasons. And apparently is like, my mom had to point this out to me, a Hispanic man, that his name is that Hobby was actually short for Javier, and that she replaced the B with the V and vice versa. And I'm like, oh, so now I have
tails just sticking out and through the door.
Yeah, it's like the episode of SpongeBob where like he puts his hand out and then Squidward puts his hand out and everyone boos and throws tomatoes at him. But I'd never throw a tomato at him. He's a good boy, didn't do nothing. But,
I thought you were saying you'd never throw a tomato at Squidward.
Oh yeah, I'd fuck Squidward. I'd throw a concrete milkshake at that fucking skinhead motherfucker.
It's basically, we had the same reaction to Squidward that everybody was having to the fucking Ice Age baby a few months ago.
Squidward tentacles, we're doxing him. He lives at 1488 Bikini Bottom Lane. But yeah, no, so I was...
Herman Munster lives at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. I don't even know if that's true. That might be the Addams Family. my knowledge of that, I'm just quoting Scrubs. I'm not even like, I have knowledge of the Munsters and the Addams Family. It's just the janitor on Scrubs talked about it once, so I know about it now.
You rang. Yeah, he lives at 1313 Dead End Drive. But I was watching...
from the last house on the left.
I was at my grandparents' house showing off my new dog and shit, and someone that was watching like Men in Black 3 just on in the background, and like my cousin and my sister were like petting the dog on the couch and shit, and then like they look over and like they meet Andy Warhol apparently, and then there are some good ideas in that movie. It's not necessarily funny, but like they literally like retread a fucking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air like episode where like they get pulled over when like they're driving in a shitty neighborhood with a good car, and then Will Smith's like, yeah, he zaps the fucking police officers to like make them forget because he's in like the 50s and they're racist, and and he's like, yeah, next time you're not gonna remember this lecture, but next time you pull over a guy just because he's black and he's driving a nice car, I didn't steal his car just because I'm black. I mean, I sold this car, sure, but I didn't steal it because I'm black, idiots. I'll be right back with it. And he drives away. And then like him and like Josh Brolin got to go to fucking some party because like they have like a witness or something, some guy that like take this alien bad boy, and he was one of the same alien that from that I Think You Should Leave sketch where he comes down from Earth and he's like, a motorcycle.
Two motorcycles with a little house in the middle?
Okay. And like he gets teleported back up to a big fucking floating motorcycle.
Yeah, guys, it's a motorcycle. There's a lot of other things too.
Yeah, Seth Rogen is in the movie is the main villain. And so anyway, they're like at a they get like sneak into like this like party, like some weird party with like a bunch of artsy fartsy like types around, and it's like Andy Warhol's party, and it's like Bill Hader with like a fake nose and chin, and then my cousin's like, is that Bill Hader? And I'm like, yeah, it looks like him. And then it turns like he took off his like wig because apparently Andy Warhol's a fucking Men in Black.
Well, it's like, I think there was a joke in like Men in Black 2 or whatever where I guess in the first one they had gone to ask Michael Jackson if he would play an alien.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah, man, I don't want to play an alien. And so that's
he's
why
one of the Men
in the
Black.
second one, he's like Agent M or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, in what fucking world?
Is that better?
I was like, in what world? Is like, the whole thing is like the Men in Black, like they could like, you know, you're not really supposed to notice them. They like, in what fucking world does anyone see Michael Jackson in a suit? Something that's going to accentuate how pale he was towards the end there. And just look at it and just go, oh, that looks like a totally normal human.
Convenient that they filmed that because they were renting out that tux for his funeral the next week. He was already halfway embalmed, so it didn't really it saved a lot of production value. But no, like it's more fucking inconspicuous that like a tentacle monster's walking down the street in a fucking Brooks Brothers suit than fucking Michael Jackson is showing up to arrest. He's being the space cops. But yeah, man, like
there were so many movies Michael Jackson wanted to be in, and I think we got robbed that we never got to see a Michael Jackson James Bond movie.
Oh, dude, I'm pissed that like Michael Jackson didn't live to fucking be in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
God damn it.
True, like because he worked on like Sonic and Knuckles and shit, and featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. But yeah, like
he was gonna be he wanted to play Peter Parker in a Spider-Man movie. Like in that like in his 30s or something like that.
I mean, Tobey Maguire did too.
Well, yeah,
a fucking 40-year-old man going to high school.
That's why I like hearing people talk about Thomas. It's good that they finally got a Peter that's actually like the appropriate age for the character.
He's like 22.
Tom Holland's like 22.
Yeah,
he just looks like that.
Yeah, like move over, Michael Cera. We got a new typecast teenager that's actually in his 20s in town.
Did you know? I was reading. Apparently, there was some controversy. I'm using air quotes again. There was some controversy about the devil all the time. And that like somebody said like apparently an early review was like there's just no jokes in it. There's like no levity. It's like it's like oh there's no levity, and it's like not everything has to have levity. I prefer a lot of things too. Dude, what the fuck? Like there
absolutely were, and
there were jokes in 3. That movie's hilarious for entirely separate reasons.
That is like Devil All the Time is my fucking comedy of the year 2020. It's been a long time since I've seen a decent comedy movie, and I'm glad that movie came along to like alleviate my need.
Delusions.
The guy's like, it's literally that one joke from fucking Other Guys where he's like, yeah, you better fuck my wife, but he has it on like gunpoint.
Literally,
creativity truly doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Robert Pattinson's character in Devil All the Time, and again, we really should. It's a shame that they never sing My Girl Wants the Devil All the Time, Devil All the Time, Devil All the Time. The timer... no, not more. The timer went off right as we were singing Devil All the Time. So that's...
Again, Skynet's fucking trying to tell us something.
We went through this whole episode without ever once getting on the topic.
So yeah, thanks for listening to our talk about Rise of the Planet of the Alligators. We hope you enjoyed it. And
since this is episode 0, we can always just do that in the first official one. This is more just a... I feel so bad for anybody who started listening to this. It was like, I'm gonna hear them talk about this thing.
Yeah, we're the masters of suspense and subverting expectations. You're welcome.
We're the true the Ryan Johnsons of our era.
We're the true Lars von Triers of America.
Well, so I guess we'll just finish up our discussion on the Devil All the Time.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
And but as I was saying, Robert Pattinson's character in that movie is just Dennis from that episode of It's Always Sunny where he thinks he can speak in a British accent, and he just goes, "This has gone on long enough."
I like that you started drooling.
That's not even the jaw surgery. That would probably just happen anyway.
No, Robert Pattinson was spitting both facts and like his weird COVID chlamydia everywhere.
I was watching somebody talk about the movie. It's like, oh, and so Tom Holland starts telling him this story about like his wife going down on him, and it's supposed to be like this parallel thing. And like they were talking about it in a way, when we watched that in the movie, I got the impression that like he followed him around and just sort of spied on him for like the things he saw. But the way they were describing it, they got the impression that he was just kind of imagining this. Yeah. And it's just the type of thing where I'm thinking, I'm like, maybe I would have drawn my own conclusions on that if I didn't have a stupid fucking narrator coming in every fucking 20 seconds. That's the thing. I'm like,
goddamn Sandlot narration where Tom Holland got himself into a real pickle.
I just love at the end. It's just like narrated by the guy who wrote the book. It's like maybe that's the problem. It's like for most of the movie, it's like okay, there's a little bit too much narration, but it's a stylistic choice, whatever. Yeah. And there's that one point where like where the narrator's like, and he said, and then somebody says a line of dialogue. I'm like, no. This is just those fucking Dr. Seuss things now.
Yeah, like the narrator fills in for a rhyme for the Grinch.
Grandpa Josiah said, yes, Euchariah, and Euchariah said, yes, Grandpa Josiah, and Andy Spence said, I'm gonna shoot myself in the fucking head if this keeps happening.
Osiah.
It's like that it's like, don't watch The Devil all the time.
No, do watch it. That movie's fucking hilarious.
It's the type of thing where it's like, I don't think we were ever like
serious, like passionate about the devil all the time.
Well, it's like we were never bored during it. It's the type of thing where it's like
I was engaged.
It's the type of thing where it's like there's some pieces of a really good movie in there, and it's so interesting to see all these things put onto it that just make it not that.
Yeah, because it has like a lot of characters going on in it, and they like there's like something to be said about like sometimes a movie has too many villains, like in a cape shit movie like Spider-Man 3, and there's other things where like sometimes like I like that kind of trope of like interweaving narratives, everyone like kind of meeting up, and like everyone was speaking with a weird fucking like southern accent. Weren't they in Ohio?
The same accent.
Yeah,
like, some people were like, "Oh, how's it going? I'm a serial killer. I'm gonna take a picture of you, my wife there, and I'm gonna shoot you."
And I bought the bracelet
for Belinda's birthday. Well, that's the thing. It's like I think I said this to like my cousin-in-law. Well, how does it work when people marry your cousins? I don't fucking know.
Your ex-stepdad.
If you're from West Virginia, where I am, it works very different when people marry your cousins, because you're probably just becoming a different member of the family.
Yeah, like Bronson, Missouri.
You're doubling up on titles.
You're doubling down.
But did I ever tell you about the joke my brother wanted to? I'll just put this out there because it doesn't fucking matter now. But when my oldest brother was getting married, the middle child was the best man, and he was never seriously gonna do this, but I really wish he had. Is he really wanted to give his speech at the wedding? That was just like
in blackface.
Yes, but just like
a fucking Duke's boys, like Dukes of Hazzard, like what's Big Hoss or some shit? Is that the guy's name?
Yeah,
Boss Hog.
Boss Hog. But he wanted to get up there and be like, well, when James told me he was getting married, I was confused because we had already had the family reunion. And it was just the type of thing where my dad was like, do not tell that joke, and I'm just there like the devil on the shore like, oh, you fucking tell that joke.
It's one of those things where like I don't think the entire crowd would have got it at first. Like they were kind of in shock, and then they would like kind of uncomfortably laugh, and it would build up and laugh. I've never had to give a wedding speech, but I hope the only one I ever have to give will just be that episode of Scrubs where I think somebody got married. Maybe it was Turk and Carla. I don't remember who. But somebody got married and they're at like the reception or whatever. You're going to run into Kelso, and Kelso's just fucking hammered. Mr. Turkleton.
Mr. Turkleton. do you actually think my name is Turkleton? And Mrs. Turkleton. The Turkletons. And he walks away.
Who played fucking Kelso in that? What's his name? Ken Hoskins or something? That guy's underrated, dude. He should be in more shit.
He was in the original TV movie for The Stand.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he was like one of the first people. He was Molly Ringwald's dad, and he was like one of the people who died of the disease, which, by the way, that's an interesting... I saw the trailer for that recently. It's like, oh, CBS All Access, The Stand. And I'm like, I get you were making this before all this happened, but this is a really bad time to release that particular story.
Yeah, it's like releasing The Phantom before, like, in a sense, like before superhero movies like really took off.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not releasing anything with Billy Zane ever.
Billy, don't fucking talk shit on my man's.
Ken Jenkins,
that's his name.
What the who? Which is this a different person?
No, dude, that's him. He's just old as shit.
Yeah, God, wow.
Yeah, just Google Ken Hoskins. No, don't Google that. Google Ken Jenkins. He looks like a scarecrow now. It's really sad. Because that motherfucker was old back on Scrubs, you know what I mean? And now he's like
Rutger Hauer in Hobo with his shotgun.
He looks like fucking Freddy Krueger.
He's wearing like I want to say it's a fur coat, but it looks like a gorilla costume with a tie with a fish on the end of it. And he just looks like he's been drinking for like 2 decades.
He should have been in fucking Devil all the time, dude.
He looks like what I imagined. Like Zach Braff just looks like he's a corpse that's been floating in a river for a while. And he's dating Florence Pugh. I get angry every time I think about it because I mean, do whatever the fuck you want there. I don't care about that. But it's just like I have no issue with like people. I have no issue with people dating anybody, really. But there's just
except from my waifu, Florence Pugh.
Fuck
like, you, Zach Braff.
It's just the only thing about that is the only thing that upsets me there is because some people are like, oh, she's with so much of an older man, and it got to the point where she like actually made a statement like basically like mind your own fucking business.
Yeah,
it's that type of thing where it's like, yeah, no one should care about that aspect of it. But if anybody's like, why are you dating Zach Braff specifically? Like, I can understand that.
Yes, the undefeated in the child professional boxing ring. Zach Braff.
For those who don't know, there was going to be an episode of Punk'd where they punked Zach Braff.
And then he punched a fucking child.
Yeah, I think the joke was like some kids were doing some stuff to his car or something like that. Yeah,
like spray painting it or just vandalizing it.
And I guess Zach Braff was faster than they bargained for because he caught one of the people and started beating the crap out of him. And like they had to come in and be like, no, Zach, it's a show. And he was probably like, I saw the cameras. I just wanted to hit this kid. But and they never aired that episode because it was unusable footage.
Yeah, Zach Braff using his professional keen situational awareness skills helps him out in the boxing ring.
Helps him pick out those projects as well. That's why he picked that show about a guy who quits his job to start
do a podcast
in like the 2010s.
Yeah, dude. I think that's even more recent than we think. I think it was like 2017.
I think it came out like several years ago.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I don't know specifically when it did because I think anybody involved with it is like, we advertise this. People are just going to laugh at us.
No, dude, that's why he lucked the fuck out when his Scrubs podcast took off during like quarantine first starting with Donald Faison. Because I looked
something now.
Well, yeah, I looked up Zach Braff podcast because for whatever reason that entered my fucking lexicon earlier. That show, like Alex Inc., I think.
Yeah, it was something like that.
A much shittier spinoff of Monsters Inc. Although Zach Braff was truly the monster the whole time.
It's just being hosted by Alex from I Hate Everything, friend of the show.
Yeah, noted friend of the show, Alex, but not so much Ralph and Adam. Like, they're fine.
We had a falling out, especially after Ralph tried to punk Steve, and Steve tracked him down and beat the shit out of him, and then we couldn't use the footage.
Yeah, he likes to talk a lot of shit, but he's actually a huge pussy. But you know, I'm cool with him. I don't know why he's acting like such a fucking asshole.
This should just be the whole episode, is us just saying random YouTubers we've never met or friends of the show and get to the point where they have to make a comment on it for fear of their own public image being damaged.
Yeah, man. It's fucking well, how would I know that they're damaged if they don't tattoo it on their forehead and then they shave their eyebrows off and they dye their hair green and they constantly wear grease paint and they drive around in their car. It looks like it's edited in a music video and they tattoo ha 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 all over their chest. And then they start a cult. And then they start on accident a different cult of everyone dressing like him. And then like they don't have any personality outside of that.
And then they come back from a cave in the desert and they're like, oh, this is like I came back from a cave in the desert and the world fell apart. Woe is me.
Yeah, how dare you? I was having a good time. I should have gone back to my cave. It's like, yeah, please do.
This podcast is now about the worst things Jared Leto has done.
Like exist.
1, breathe.
2, start 30 Seconds to Mars. That band, I don't understand the hype about them when I was a babby.
3, do things while on tour with that band that I don't know if there's ever been any like definitive like, oh yeah, you should be arrested for this, but just the stuff we've heard.
Yeah. I was actually talking about this with a friend yesterday. Actual friend of the show, Erica, not like a sarcastic friend.
An actual friend of the show, someone Steve knows that I have not met, I don't think.
Yeah, Andy's best friend Erica was telling me about, or I was telling her about, we were talking about...
ICE is gonna find us.
Oh, shit. Vanilla ISIS is gonna find us, and he's gonna. They're
gonna find me and deport you.
I can never fucking win, dude. I've been dealing with this bullshit. Like, I went to my fucking buddy Kenny's house and, like, handed them my license at the fucking check-in desk. It's like, hey, name and address. And I'm like, I'll just give you my license. It's easier. And then she, like, looked at it. She looked at me. And she looked back at it. She's like, you don't look like a Rodriguez. And I'm like, you don't look like a fucking racist. And here we are. Can I get it back, fucking Mein Führer?
And that lady...
Turned out to be Stormfront.
She worked for WFMZ or whatever the hell the channel's name is. Her name is Stevie Garcia.
But yeah, I was talking with my friend Erica. She was talking about these like channels on YouTube that like dissect body language and stuff. And I was like chiming
with a
in.
Knife, like just like he stands like this because
yeah,
muscle in here and like bones.
Hey, look what I can make this do. Check out this knife. We need your help identifying a body. This is poking with a stick. That's him. But yeah, I was like, it was around the Oscars or whatever when like, you know, they all took that picture and then it turns out that it was probably not a good idea to take that picture.
With Kevin Spacey there.
Yeah, with Kevin Spacey there, with Ellen there, and with like everyone else that like fucking hung out in like goddamn Alila Island probably.
Within like the next 10 years, everybody in that picture will be just a complete foreign entity to anybody looking at it that isn't like our age.
They're either in like Guantanamo or they fucking killed themselves and like the DEA or the FBI are like raiding their fucking McMansions.
It's gonna be like in a horror movie where someone's just looking through old pictures. It's like, who's that? It's like, we don't talk about it. It's like, who's that? It's like, oh, we don't talk about it. Who's that? We don't talk about her. Who's that? That's Bradley Cooper. Who's that? Oh, we don't talk about him.
Just fucking all like their fucking eyes like redacted out. But yeah, no, like they're gonna like.
Why do you have a picture of just a bunch of black squares and then Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, I don't know, like that. But that thing was like. The video topic was on body language and how they all took that picture together, and Bradley Cooper was one that like instigated it, and Jared Leto tried to like chime in because everyone was like already crowded around and stuff. He's like, "Wait, let me get in," and like his face is all like cropped out, and you can kind of tell that Bradley Cooper like did it on purpose. And like he's like, "Hey, let's get another one." It's like, "No, we got it," and then like everyone walked away, and then Jared Leto kind of like looked down at his feet. He's like, "Oh," and like Brad Pitt was like the only person that like looked over and like, was like, "Sorry, bud," and then it's like Brad Pitt's a real fucking one. Like, shout outs to him. I mean, it turns out that they should have fucking done that because he turned out to be a weird cult leader. Maybe they should have bullied him more. Maybe that's why he is a cult leader now, because they bullied him and he's ostracized. He actually is the Joker.
Oh no.
Fun fact, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like the same like old man laugh that he used in Mr. Nobody, he used the exact same laugh as fucking Joker.
And Suicide Squad.
Yeah, he sounds like fucking Skeletor. Great.
That's fucking like everything about that was just like I feel like that movie is the truest indicator of who Jared Leto really is as a person.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this is my method movie. I really had to disappear into this rabbit hole, and ironically enough, that is the movie that shows us the most of who he is as a person. I was like,
truly the Lars von Trier of the acting world.
I was like, oh, we kind of let Jared do his own thing. It's like, oh, and when he showed up at work one day with just a bunch of fake tattoos, including one just like damaged across his forehead. Were you ever like, maybe I should not have done that?
Didn't he like mail Will Smith a dead dog or some shit?
He hired some people to like drop a real dead pig on their read-through table while everybody else was there to like go through their scenes. And then he like mailed like dead rats and condoms to people.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is they asked like Viola Davis is like, yeah, because if it, like he doesn't interact with most of those people, so it's a confusing thing to do. But it's like they asked Viola Davis, is like, oh, did you get like any of that stuff? And she was basically like, no, I think my husband would have solved that problem. She was basically just saying like, yeah, fuck around and find out, Jared Leto.
Yeah, Jared Leto is actually the Bjork stalker the whole time, but is and in fact the Viola Davis. Truly inspired by such people as Ernesto Lopez and Elliot Rodger. That's who he's taking inspiration from for this lonely, tortured soul.
Well, it's like, I remember I was, like I said, I was talking to my cousin recently, and we were talking about like, I'm like, oh, I really hope they don't try to like jam this like Jared Leto Morbius Morbius movie and like all this other crap into the MCU. And my cousin's like, oh, I don't think they'll do that because I don't think like this squeaky clean company like Disney would ever like work with Jared Leto. And I just look at it like, dude, a few days ago, he was cast as the lead in the next Tron movie. And my cousin just kind of stopped talking. And I'm like, yeah, that's like, there's some people that it's just like they did horrible things and we were immediately like, nah, get the fuck away. And then there's other people who have just kept doing the same shit. I heard somebody talking about this recently. It's the R. Kelly thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's a, like everyone's like, why did it take so long to like actually arrest R. Kelly for something? He seems like incredibly guilty of the things he's accused of. And it's just the thing, it's like, you hit a certain point and people are just like, I don't even think you're joking or lying, but just something about you makes me not want to arrest you.
It's one of those things where like people either have so much power or that they're just not giving, they're like have such a not giving a fuck attitude. Like they're, again, it's probably the power thing again, but like Dan Schneider, you know, he was like he was a weirdo, but he kept it mostly under wraps from like Amanda's show and all that up until like, well, you get it like once in a while with like a weird foot thing, but like it would just be like a more of a shock thing. And then like it got to iCarly and then it was like getting a bit more overt. And then he got to Victorious. I
straight up like fucking here's some feet. Like for that one
every
episode,
other
the first thing you see is just feet.
Yeah, like just straight up, no context, just laugh track. Fucking make like the like Victorious After Dark, basically, like the web series that they did on like Nick.com or some shit. Just having fucking Ariana Grande suck her own toes, and then fucking.
And then there's that just like Sam and Cat show where it's like, oh, wouldn't it be a funny bit if you like tried to get juice from a potato?
Yeah.
And you tried to squeeze a potato and you were just like shaking it around your mouth like this and sort of like holding your tongue open like that.
Yeah, and she's having like trying to fight off PTSD flashbacks when she had to do that to Dan Schneider like 5 minutes ago.
It's just like he had like so many people are involved in decisions of this caliber where it's just like even if he explained that to her in like total seclusion, like were the cameramen not just like peeking out from behind the camera and looking over at Dan and going, you want us to like get a different angle or a different take or maybe just stop shooting this scene altogether?
Yeah.
And Dan's just there like he's licking the good burger sauce off his fingers and just sweats it.
Now that's the thing though, like it's one of those things where like everyone's like, this is really fucked up, but I need a job, so like everyone's kind of complicit in a way.
It's like the people who work for the fucking Ren and Stimpy guy, just literally showing him underage naked girls.
Yeah.
And the people are like, can I go back to making the cartoon now, please?
Dude, he would fucking like take in like 14-year-old girls that were like interested in doing internships and shit, like make them live with him, and like he would go on Howard Stern's. There's like another thing where it's like he just blatantly just throwing it out in the open because he's so arrogant that he's never going to get caught or face any consequence because he has a position of power. It's like, yeah, Howard Stern's like, hey, the girl has big cans. I like your drawing. He's like, yeah, she's underage too. And everyone's like, like Howard Stern said that shit, you know? And it's like, if you got him.
Exactly. He's like,
yeah, he just wheezed and then he fucking died of a heart attack.
He couldn't believe what he was seeing.
And then they brought him back and then the paramedics were like, oh fuck, I thought it was Nikki Sixx, and they killed him again. And then like, you know, Dan Schneider and shit, like, you know, like it's like one of the only guys, like you were always saying this, how like he was one of the only guys that they took this fucking picture off the wall of all the producers. And I'm pretty sure they did with John Kay too.
Yeah.
So
him and Ren and Stimpy guy.
So now like his, you know, the writing was on the wall the whole time, but you know what's not on the wall anymore?
Dan Schneider's picture.
Hey,
we shook hands. I don't know why, but
they could feel the bond from the tiny clap that resonates throughout the microphones.
So I think that's a good point to end on. Dan Schneider and the guy who made Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to us talk about Rise of the Planet of the Alligators.
Thanks for listening to us talk about the thing that we said we were going to talk about, and not literally any other subject, as we knew this would inevitably become. But that's the whole conceit of the show, is we're crazy people, and this is gonna happen again.
Yeah, we're waiting for like a big set so we can have like a tally, like someone like actively counting how many times we divert from topic to topic. And the only constant we can promise is that there is no fucking constant. We hope you
we're constantly crazy.
Yeah, we're constantly crazy.
That's one constant you can count on in life. But yeah, so join us for future episodes where maybe we'll actually do the thing that we say we're going to do, and more likely we won't. But that'll be part of the fun.
Yeah, exactly, man. Join us next time when we talk about the devil all the time, too.
Well, we should also what all do we have right now? We got a Twitter, we got an email. We'll put links to this shit somewhere depending on where we post this. But if you'd like to suggest topics for future episodes or just to see what we're up to, be sure to go follow us under
Pitch Shift Cast.
Yeah, Pitch Shift Cast on Twitter, and we're in the process of making. We have our Facebook.
At Pitch Shift PC,
and we're gonna be making a YouTube channel. I don't know if you've done that yet. We can work on that in the future.
No.
But
I'm tired.
Hey Steve, do you have those reports? I'm tired. Fair enough. I'm not your boss anyway. But yeah, so be sure to check out our socials if you'd like to suggest future episodes that we even if we get those things and we're like, we're gonna do this episode, God fucking knows if that's even true.
God help the world.
So join us as we continue to hammer out whatever kinks we have. Like I'm probably gonna go back home and listen to this. But,
does that room in cube?
Yeah, our heads are gonna explode. But so join us as we continue to lose our minds, and you can come with us.
Yeah, we're trying to get this podcast as fast as possible to the point where it's all just completely inside jokes. So I think we've got to do a pretty good head start.
We want this to be the thing that by episode 3 it's completely inaccessible to anybody who didn't start at the first episode.
Yeah, and
we want this thing to be as dense as Dune.
Yeah, and this is the first book, man. Yeah, we're gonna become so incomprehensible that you guys are gonna pretend to follow along, and we can be your surrogate friends. We don't want to hang out with you in real life. Just get the fuck away from me.
We don't even want to hang out with each other in real life. This is torture.
Yeah, so give us your money, and thanks for nothing.
Thanks for listening. See you soon. Sorry.